Like, you remember back in the day when every time a movie came out, there'd be a duplicate, like, Me Too movie?
Yeah.
Um,
Don't say Me Too. Me
oh,
Too is different.
me also, also me.
I also ran the race movie.
Yeah.
Like an also ran, yeah.
Um, in, like, well, nowadays, I can't remember the last time where it was just the two. Now it's like you get 100 of the same thing.
Yeah,
Like
because
one person does a good one, and then
then a movie does well, so
yeah.
Netflix makes 5 versions of it, and they all have sequels and trilogies and blah blah.
It's just too much, man. Fucking too many white women going around kicking ass now, which I wanted it before, but now it's
What does
too
that mean?
much.
What does that mean?
There's too much of everything. Too many superhero things.
Oh, well, Brad.
Too many. Everyone's doing everything copy paste.
We live in a world where Hollywood is adverse to risk because they need their movie to make $1 billion for it to ever break even. So they only put out safe bets.
I realize now.
This is why our really pathetic and total awkward movie hasn't made any money, because there's no superheroes in it. What you have is Netflix making more shows and movies than any of the studios do combined, but you have all the studio movies, and then you have the Netflix, the Amazon, the Hulu, and they're all producing stuff too. There really is too much.
Yeah.
But they all have to, and HBO now, HBO Max, they're producing things strictly for their streaming thing. Peacock, everybody's doing stuff
God.
because it's a content machine.
Ugh.
So they can remain viable, they have to make content.
And that's why it's so important for independent filmmaking to figure out distribution and get your films out there, because we're the only people doing anything original.
No, well, what it is, though, is just one more movie people have to watch.
Because we're finding out.
You're out of focus the whole fucking time.
Well, what do you
Lean
want?
forward!
God damn. I injured myself doing the show before, and now I've got to jump through hoops just so that people can see this. You want to see that? Look at this. Do you like it?
You're right. You looked better when you were out of
Why
focus.
am I being angry and aggressive?
It's like you looked better when you were out of focus.
What?
No, sit back again. You looked better out of focus.
I figured, because, like, the more details you get, it's...
Yeah, you're like, look, 2021, year 1994.
Yeah.
The resolution's a little off.
You don't want this in 4K. Trust me.
Okay, everybody, quiet on the set. You have to say your line after 103 episodes.
Do the thing with the...
Okay, everybody, quiet on the set.
Film Reverie, take 103.
And action. Hello, Film Reverie listeners. You're the one drinking alcohol. I haven't had anything. I can't even seem to speak.
I did that in private. You weren't supposed to know.
You talk about it all the time.
Happy juice!
That's vodka. That's not water.
That's water.
Hello, Film Reverie listeners. This is Michael Beckemeyer, and as always, I am joined by the cantankerous,
never dying.
He's still here, balding Ewok. Today we have a. I'm excited to talk to him because I literally was introduced to you. Like, somebody said you should talk to Blayne Weaver, and I went to your Twitter feed, and instantly somehow we ended up connected. Now you're on our show. This is actor, producer, director Blayne Weaver, who has a really good indie film out called Cut to the Chase, amongst other things, which I hope we can talk to you about. How's it going?
It's great. It's great to meet you guys. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are really happy to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Tell people. My pleasure. I like that. He sounds cool. I bet you if I said that, I won't sound as cool.
No, because it wouldn't be true.
Say it, Brad.
Because anything you do with me is not pleasure.
Say it. My pleasure.
My pleasure.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
That's
you
it.
got
Yes. You sold it. So tell people a little bit about you.
Okay. So I'm originally from Bossier City, Louisiana, the mecca of Bossier City, Louisiana, and I'm an actor, and I'm a writer, and I'm a director, and I have just formed a distribution company called Secret Identity Pictures. And the most recent thing that I have going is a movie that I produced called The In-Between that is right now, Amazon, iTunes, all that kind of thing. And starring Jennifer Stone from Wizards of Waverly Place, which, if you like that Disney kind of thing, it's a dramatic turn for her, and she's fantastic.
So you hit a whole thing, because I want to talk to you about your film Cut to the Chase, but I also really want to talk to you about forming your own distribution company, which a lot of indie filmmakers are starting to do, because I guess once you start to learn the process, you realize, why do I have a middleman for this? Because I'm kind of doing a lot of the work myself anyway. And then they're taking half my money, or maybe all the money, and you're not ever seeing any money from your film.
Yeah, sometimes it's all the money. It's a real frustrating process, and I feel like the process itself is not built towards protecting the independent filmmaker financially, certainly, but also just protecting the movie. And that's really what we can start by talking about Cut to the Chase, because that's kind of how all this came about. Like, we had made this movie, and then we got placement for it, but then the movie was falling through the cracks, and it's like most independent filmmakers, I'd love to make $1 billion on this, but it's really about the art maintaining and being out in the world.
So many, I guess, distributors now are like, it's like feeding the beast. Like they'll take on, they're like releasing so many movies a week, a month, a year. And it's not like it's not like in the old days where, like, this is a great movie we saw at a film festival, we wanted to buy it. Or buy it so we can distribute it and put it out there and gain an audience for it. They're just trying to, like, here, out of these 500 movies, one of them might make us some money. And then everybody else is just getting sucked into the vortex of, like, anonymity, I guess. And you never really hear from it again.
Without, naming any distributor names, one of the, I've directed at this point 8 films, right? And I've been a producer on several others. So I've seen this, right? Where a company will pick up a movie. Maybe there's a minimum guarantee, maybe there's not. But what was astounding to me consistently was how not very good they were at the job of getting the movie. Like I can't tell you, the movie would have a release date and then it would miss the release date. And of course the filmmaker's doing everything to promote, August 8th. And then it's like, it's not live. And you're like, oh my God, well, what do? I've done all this stuff. And then when it does come live, it has, I had a movie come out not too long ago, had director unknown. I'm like, no, it's known. It's me. I directed it.
What did he say? Actor unknown?
He said the director was unknown.
Yeah.
What the hell?
On the metadata, do you think that I didn't fill out my form right? Because I'm pretty sure I did. You know what I mean? And it's like, especially when it's like data entry. It's like, all right, it's starring this person. It's starring this person. We had a horror film come out that there was another film with a similar name, and on all the platforms it seemed like the data entry person had copied the information from the wrong movie and just pasted it in. And I'm like, this is obviously a different movie, but why is my distributor the one that's giving the wrong information?
This is the person you're trusting with your film to distribute it, so that to get it out there. And they can't even get the basic info right. So you've done 8 films. You've directed 8 features.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So that sounds right. So you've been at it for a while, because it takes a long time to get a well-financed film made, not just an indie film.
Sure, no, it does. I started directing. I did my first short film. I believe it was 2006, and that was my first thing ever. And I followed it up in 2008 with my first feature. So.
That's nice.
Yeah, since then I try to make a movie a year, which of course you can't really accomplish. But for the last 3 years I've been able to do a movie a year, which makes me very happy.
This fucking guy, I directed my first short film in 1994, and it was 2013 before we got 2017 before we got our feature film.
Was I in that? Is that Middleman?
That was that was the first one we finished. Yeah.
You just can't get rid of me.
I can't get rid of you. Some of my best work was the years where you weren't working with me.
That is actually almost true.
So you went through it several times, and then when you got to your film Cut to the Chase, which is this great crime thriller, I guess, is that the genre you're calling it, crime thriller?
Yeah, crime thriller, film noir,
Film noir, it's a neo-noir crime thriller. By the time you got there, you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this myself and get the...
No. We actually got a distribution deal with that movie. But what happened was the movie had been out a year and a half, 2 years, and it was like... nowhere, and it had, that was a movie that was financed. The movie I'd done before then was well over $1 million, and it was, one financial group that made the movie. And this film was just, I was trying to get a follow-up to 6 Month Rule, which was the biggest budget that I had worked on. And I had this film noir crime thriller thing, and it kept looking like it was going to go. It kept looking like it was going to go. And then like 2 years after we had been dealing with it, it finally fell through. And I said, forget it. Yeah. I'm going to do something that I can control. So we took small investors and built a budget. Well, there's my cat. Look,
our cats could be twins. You've got to.
Yeah, I thought that was my cat in front of the camera there.
Yeah, our cat is trying to get in the shot too.
He knows exactly where the camera is, and he wants to put his asshole right in the shot every time.
He's very smart.
Anyway, it's just part of the show.
My cat Frank knows that if he steps on this keyboard, he can make me frantic. So that's what he does. Like I leave the room, and I'll come back, and he's just like, I'm going to mess something up. I hope I erase a script or something. And that's what he does. But anyways, we made this like low budget movie. We took a distribution deal reflecting that, where like, we don't need to make a lot of money to make this money back. Mm-hmm. So like, just go take it out. I'll push it. And like, they would make these sales, and then the sales would just disappear. It's like, well, where's that money from? And, you're desperately trying to pay back film investors, obviously. Yeah. And then there was this whole thing where it was just kept falling off of where it was. So we just took it back. I formed the company to say, hey, here's our contract. You've not, excelled or accomplished any of these goals that you set forth. So I want it back. And so my company, I formed a company to own the movie and be able to put it back onto platforms and whatnot. So that's how it started. And now we've started picking up other films and, it's not just the Blayne Weaver party anymore. But, instead of going out and looking for someone else to do the same thing that this other company had done, we just did it ourselves under our own umbrella.
So you were able to the contract didn't just run out. You like actually got them on breach of.
This is them playing. That's awesome. Supposedly. I usually find it's the high point of any Zoom calls is what's going on over here.
They sounds unhappy with each other.
Alfie. Oh, they're hooked. Yeah. Alfie has
it got caught, and then it was like a thing.
They got caught. So thankfully, everybody's rescued, and now they're fascinated by the tag that has fallen off on the ground. So we're okay.
That's good.
What's funny, we had a guest last night, an old friend of my fiance's, and so they stayed in the room and had their little girly slumber party. I slept on the couch, and these sons of bitches kept me up all night doing frolicking.
They're
happy.
Sleep.
Cat shit. They're happy cats. Yeah.
They're happy, but they're really annoying. Anyways,
as the kids say, as the kids would say, the cats are living their best life.
They're living their best life.
They're living their best
life.
Yeah. So, what can you like? What? So you also had every supporting character in your film Cut to the Chase is a television actor or someone who's done work. It's not like just your buddies who hadn't quite done anything. You're throwing, you need their help and they need you to be in your movie. You've got Lance Henriksen in your movie, who people know, who was great in your movie, by the way, and is perfectly
used. Thank you. He's so good in it. I think so too. Thanks.
He's got that.
Well, that's the funny thing about being, an actor in Los Angeles for the last 25 years is that a lot of my buddies are accomplished, great actors. Like Erin Cahill, who's the actress who plays my sister in Cut to the Chase. Yeah. She's friends of mine, but I put her in a movie in 6 Month Rule as someone that I was dating in the film. And she did such a great job. Like, I didn't know her very well when I cast her in that. And I'm just like, oh man, you're so great. We got along so well. And I'm like, we should play siblings sometimes. I feel like, and that was 15 years before we, made the movie. Yeah. But yes, Patrick Day, who plays the guy who wants to cut my thumbs off, he's a great heavy, but we had done a movie a couple years ago called Favor, where we played opposite each other, and the director, a guy named Paul Osborne, wrote the script specifically for us. And the irony was, we knew each other because we had taken acting classes together when we were 19 years old and hadn't seen each other since. But we were both in LA, in town, but I'm like, yeah, the young actor space, on Van Nuys Boulevard. We took classes for like 2 years together, and had never done a scene together. And now we're starring in this movie that was specifically written for us. It's crazy.
That's crazy. So that is the cool part of it, because we're out in Orlando. We feel your sympathy ebbing out of you, but we're in Orlando. So if we want to talk to like a Lance Henriksen or something, we have to figure out how to get a hold of him. It's like, or like you're saying, your buddies who you had acting class with, 20 years ago, they've all gone off and had careers, and you can just call up your buddies and talk them into it. So did you have to do any jumping through hoops to get these people or in your films, any of these actors in your films, or did you, like you said, you
always,
knew a lot
it's
of
never that easy. It's never that easy. You know what I mean? It's like, we had a production company called Capital Arts Entertainment, who is kind of, I guess you could say, the boss of the movie, because they had invested the most money. Yeah. But they, had approval over the Lance Henriksen part. So, we were constantly trying to find the pieces to fit together. I'd never worked with Lance before. And, there's a list of people that they approve, and it's like, I don't know if this guy, blah, blah, blah. And for Patrick Day, they didn't know who he was and were pushing back on him. And so, you're always moving pieces around and trying to accommodate everybody. But when I can use someone who I've worked before and is someone I care about, obviously I push that really hard. So I got everything I wanted in Cut to the Chase. And I love that we're talking about it. I haven't talked about the film in a year or so, because there's just been other stuff going on. But I really like it as a independent thriller kind of thing. And I think Lindy Greenwood, who's this great actress who's on SWAT now, and she does a lot of work, but she's amazing in it. And I'm just really proud of that cast.
Your movie, I was saying to Brad that, like, this is our 103rd episode of this show. So we've talked to a lot of filmmakers. We've had a lot of different levels of filmmakers. Sometimes some of our episodes are just talking to other filmmakers who are just, sort of Forrest Gumping their way through it like we are. And, but all the way, I said to Brad, this is like one of the best movies we've ever had on our show. Like, your movie sounds good. It looks good. The performances are good. It's a solid noir, like you said, a noir film. It's like, a lot of them feel like they're pretending to be a noir film. Yeah. But yours has its own personality to it, its own sense of humor. And I think it does what it does really well. It does what you do with it really well. Knowing that it's a really kind of a micro budget film, that you put it together with, blood, sweat, and tears, and some kind of a budget. Can you talk? Will you talk about the budget?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's this whole thing where they're like, don't tell the budget because, because then buyers will undercut you.
Yeah.
But, we've already been through that whole process.
Right.
So,
right.
And I'm really proud of the fact that it's such a micro budget movie. Like, we made the whole thing for about $125,000.
Okay.
Which is crazier when you think that all of the main talent came into Shreveport, Louisiana, which is, my hometown where I'm from. And it's kind of a character in the film. It's about this, Louisiana town. But when you put in that we're flying in, like, that I don't live in Shreveport. I was living in New York when we made that movie, and my DP was living in LA, and, the main 4 actors were all LA talent. So we're flying them in, putting them in a hotel. And, that always takes this giant chunk from your budget. You think you have $125,000 to make a movie. It's like, no, you got like 70, maybe,
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was honestly, it was the best experience on a set I've ever had, because, again, I'm in my hometown, and the things that people would just volunteer to us and make us feel really at home. And then when the film was over, we did this giant red carpet, black tie event at this 1900s movie theater, in town. Nice. And the entire city showed up. It was like this crazy. Anyways, I got a lot of warm feelings about that movie. But you can't make a movie like that on that budget without everybody, lifting more than their weight.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like a love of the game to a certain point. It's like you're doing it for you because you love doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you took your movie back, and you said, we're going to do this ourselves. We're going to what did you find out that you like? What made you say, okay, I'm going to do this with this movie, and then what made you say, okay, I can start a whole company distributing films? What'd you call it? Secret Identity?
Secret Identity.
Secret Identity.
Yeah.
So did you figure out getting in touch with like the aggregators and all that stuff? Like, what was it that you figured out over the last 8 films that made you think I could do this better?
Yeah, well, I think that you really hit on it. Is basically the most distributors, especially for the indie world, have their own middleman. Right. So you'll see when you get your statement or whatever, it's like, who's this company? It's like, oh, that's the company that puts it on iTunes. I'm like, oh, I thought you did that. It's like, no, I broker the deal to put it on. It's like, okay. I just went to a lot of different companies that, provide those services, provide the quality control services and blah, 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 and found ourselves a deal that works for us. And, I thought Cut to the Chase was the perfect film to do it with because we kind of had nothing to lose on the movie. What I wanted it to be was out there in the world so that we could see it and people could, that the movie would live on. And then I made a horror film called Getaway, which is currently everywhere, Amazon, iTunes, all that stuff. Okay. And it's, it was a slasher movie. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put this out because people love slasher movies, and Secret Identity was moving forward with that, and then Gravitas came in and was like, "We want it, we'll pay you for it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, in this particular instance, I will be the middleman for Getaway," and Gravitas has done a great job with it.
Okay, cool.
Cutting it all over the place, but I like that idea that you can do both. You can look for the good deals, or you can look for the the upfront money if it's out there. And if not, then we can do it ourselves without having to, give our pound of flesh.
Yeah.
So
I'm just, how do you start that process? Because it's so overwhelming and complicated. And then it seems like when you find it, it's like everywhere you're going to distribute it, if they need different things. And then you might have to, they'll send it back and say, no, you got to fix this or fix that. It's like, I don't know. How did you start? What was step one to starting that process?
I mean, to be honest, it's very similar to making a film. It's like the amount of complications that you're going to run into. You have no idea on day one what day 50's biggest problem is going to be. So, we just start. We formed an LLC. We got the paperwork for the first film, and you just step by step it. And so that was our learning curve, was getting Cut to the Chase out there. And then, by the time we were ready to do the In Between, which is, again, a totally different genre, a lovely film from writer-director Mindy Bledsoe, we knew the steps, and we're like, all right, we can guarantee domestic distribution, DVD, Blu-ray, all that stuff, we can do that for you. And then we can maintain the international rights at this moment, but we're still figuring that out because also AFM is basically just the American film market is just digital right now. And last year it was just very difficult having any real talks because it was all Zoom. And these are not people it's just like, hi, are you looking for a emotional drama comedy about 2 women on a road trip right now? And they're like, I don't know, they're from somewhere else. That was my vague European. Okay, not offending anybody, just a vague European. I don't know. So, anyways, it didn't go great. But we're very much in the domestic world right now. But we want to do more international. So, really long answer to your very simple question. Yeah, we're still figuring it out every day, and I think everybody is. And I think the key, though, is the amount of commitment you have to the one project, right? It's like, I've got one film that I'm trying to do this for right now, and we will grow, as we do, but not having 180 different titles that you're just like, oh yeah, what about this one? What about this one? That seems to be our key right now.
So when you got your horror film, you said distributed by Gravitas, did they buy it from you, or did they work out like a split deal, or did they give you like a solid upfront? I mean, you don't have to tell me exactly.
They gave us a solid upfront, which is great, which comes off the top of the money that will then be achieved. And one of the jokes, the scary truths about this is so seldom after you get a minimum guarantee, do you get any other money ever? It's like, it's one of the things that you have to watch out for. And Gravitas was right on the money of paying when, once we hit that cap. So I have nothing but good things to say. Is like, a distributor who pays on time is like, what? Amazing.
Yeah. So are you trying to get, when you did that with them, are you trying to at least cover your initial investment in the film? Like if you had a, I don't know, $250,000 investment in the film from people like this, and you're trying to get Gravitas or whoever to pay you like the upfront or the minimum guarantee, you're trying to at least cover that, right? Because your job is to get your investors at least paid back, not
absolutely. That's always the goal. Is like, you give me $1 million, I'm going to give you $1.5 million. Like, and the movie business, especially the independent movie business, is so risky and untrustworthy in that kind of way. But that is always what you're seeking. Is here's all of your money back, and and a percentage of the rest of
it. Well, so that's working out. How long has that been out there? That film, how long has it been?
The In Between it came out, I want to say 6 months ago, and Getaway came out almost a year ago. I think it came out right around Halloween of last year. So
you're pretty busy.
Another push.
You sound pretty busy.
I love movies.
Do you have time? Do you ever do any other films that you're not producing? Do you work, or you got your business model like spinning like a yearly film here? It seems like I'd love to be just busy making my own stuff. I don't know how most actors feel, but for me as a writer director, it's like I'd rather be writing and directing my own thing instead of working for hire or something.
Yeah, but it's refreshing too. It's like I love, when I get a call from somebody or I book a job and I'm like going to act for somebody, and it's like I love not having the entire thing on my shoulders, and I'm like, I'm just popping in. And before COVID, I had done a play a year for like 5 years, where it's just like I'll go, for 6 weeks and do a play and just feel get that satisfaction, and then come back to movie world. But I write a lot as well. So like this last year, I directed a Christmas movie that's going to come out this year called Cupid for Christmas.
Nice,
charming Christmas movie,
like a Hallmark movie style thing.
Yeah, Hallmark style, Christmas film. Yeah.
But you did you did it yourself. You did it through your company for you. Yeah.
No, I did it. I was hired for that.
Hired for that. Oh, okay, cool.
A company called Capital Arts hired me to direct it. It's the second Christmas movie I've made for them. But like what I love about it is I got to do this, fun, family-oriented, romantic comedy kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I wrote American Pie Girls Rules for Netflix, which those two things can't be much different. Right?
You're right. That warm, fuzzy, and
teen sex comedy. But like that's what I love. Like if I was doing the same thing all the time, I think I'd go crazy.
Isn't it amazing how we talk about this a lot, Brad and I, but also just it comes up on our show a lot. You started out wanting to be. It sounded like you started out as an actor, or were you always
absolutely.
a writer? Yeah. It's funny that all the stuff that you have to do just so you have to learn how to do so you can do the one thing you really want to do. Like, I wanted to be a writer and a director, but to be a writer and a director, I had to learn how to design fucking websites, talk to people, beg for money. You had to learn how to do sound design, had to do our own special effects, visual effects, and all this stuff.
Edit
all that stuff. And all just so that, like, I can have, like 12 to 15 days on a set directing something, which is really what I'm trying to do that. I'll do anything else. I'll try to do anything else. But here you are. It's like spun off to where you work in the other skills that you've learned along the way too.
I do feel very lucky. I love getting to be the Renaissance kind of guy, kind of thing. But like it's ironic. Like it comes from disappointment, right? Like I was acting and I was disappointed.
That's exactly.
I can relate to that.
Exactly.
That's my life.
You're disappointed in other people and other things, and I'm going to.
It always leans into this dark side, right? Of like I hated the things I was auditioning for, so I wrote a movie, with a buddy of mine. The movie got made. I hated the director, so I was like, all right. I'm going to direct something. But like it always grows of like, I never want, if I had what if I had booked like the lead role in 90210 in 1995, right? I don't know that I would have written, I don't know that I would have, but I know that dissatisfaction of being like, well, this sucks, like, and this is like the best role I booked this year, and this movie is awful. So I wrote a movie, and then if I hadn't have had such a bad relationship with that director, I don't know that I would have put my own money on the line to direct a movie.
Yeah. What was the director doing that you didn't like?
Jesus Christ, you seeing this?
Fucking cats.
We're astonished at how well behaved our cat is being right now. My dog is over here
making all the noise
today. She's whatever it is. It must taste really good because she's working really hard on it over there.
They literally ripped the wall socket from the wall and from my computer simultaneously. It's amazing that this thing just didn't go flying.
Oh, so we are on a time limit now. The battery's going.
That's okay. He's happy. He's probably happy about that. He's like, how many more times am I have to tell this cut to the chase story over here?
Yeah.
No. So what was the director doing that made you think I can do this shit better than?
Well, we did this movie called Manic, and it was an independent film. Very, it premiered at Sundance. Movie turned out quite well. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Don Cheadle, really great cast. And the biggest complaint that I had of that experience was just the actual experience of it. It's like the director took different tacks than I would have taken, obviously, but I wasn't so much upset about that as how hostile the workplace was. I didn't like, feeling like, like an unhealthy situation. As an actor, I feel like the more confidence I feel, the happier the set is, the more I'm willing to give my best. And this was not that kind of set. This was much more hostile and manipulative. And I just didn't like him at all. And that remains so to this day. Yeah. But I was like, all right, I can do this better.
I feel that I want, when I'm on a set, when I'm directing or when I'm working with somebody else, is mostly directing, I'm trying to make it fun. I want it to be like, not a party, but I want it to be fun. I want people to feel comfortable and relaxed, which is why I am so disappointed in my own self when I have one of those moments where I'm so frustrated that I lose my cool. Like, I'm not like I'm yelling at people or cursing at anybody, but it's like
you leave the room.
I left the room once in the middle of a thing because our actors showed up. We had 10 pages to do that day, and neither one of them knew their lines. And I'm like, guys, we got 9 days. We don't have time for you to sit here and do your rehearsals while everyone's standing here holding the boom mic and shit.
Yeah, and I'm having to shout their lines to them.
So, yes, they should have shown up and known their lines. But I also feel like I was the one that created tension that day. And I regret it. It was like an off day for me.
And that happens to everybody. I mean, you can't steer a ship and not get frustrated sometimes. Yeah. I mean, especially, the director's role is so complicated where sometimes you're holding an actor's hand and saying it's all going to be okay. And sometimes you're like, all right, we need to tighten this up. Like tomorrow, I need you ready, right. And, obviously I can absolutely relate to there are times where I could have handled something with more tact, but
right. That's what I was tactless that day. That's exactly what I was.
But the truth is we're human and the pressure is intense. But like my thing is I just want to create a place that is a safe environment to create, right? Yeah. You're not doing your job. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be irritated with you or I'm not going to lose my temper. I mean, I lost my temper just not too long ago with somebody that's a way bigger star than I am just because they were slowing down the day. But, it's about what you're trying to create because, the truth is, and I see you're giving an example of it right now. You feel bad about losing your temper that day. And it probably affected the next day and the day after that where you felt either like you had to make up for that or, it's just trying to keep it in a good place. And like every time I lose my temper, I'm like, what is the butterfly effect of this? Like, how many days am I working with this actor? And is this going to hurt the movie? Because when I work with the same group of people, our mantra is always like the movie is the most important thing. Yeah. So, if it helps the movie, then go ahead and lose it. But if you're going to lose it and it's going to hurt the performance that we're getting from this person, even if they are a jerk,
I will say they got their shit together over lunch.
Good.
They showed back up, and we didn't have that problem again. But the same guy showed up on the last day and said, "Hey, Beckmeyer, I was thinking if we don't have the lines right, maybe we can improvise." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
What
And
are you talking to me?
I stopped and I said, "Yeah, well, I've been working on this script for 3 years. Let's just throw it out of the window and you can make it up because you don't know your lines." He goes, "No, I got it. I got it. But, maybe not." I'm like, "Well, let's get the words on the page down and then we'll mess around." By the end of the night, I was sitting in the way, way back of a car whispering lines to him so we could just get the scene shot.
Right.
And I was like, is this what I meant when I said I want to be a filmmaker? This is not what I meant, And I did. I quietly stepped away again, and I'm sitting there having my existential crisis. And Brad walks in and says to me, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I said we need to get cover shot. You wanted it to be one take, and I said, "Well, I remember we need some cutaways. I remember can't use that.
We can't use that." And I just remember saying, "Brad, what do we do? They're butt fucking our movie out there." It's like it's like. But I had the little 5-minute huff and puff thing, and then we went off and did it. And I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't have taken it so personal. You know what I mean? It's another day. We got it done. The movie's done. It's not exactly what I wanted, but neither is 90% of the stuff we had in that film because we were stringing it together so barely. There's one scene that if we didn't get this one take of this one shot, the whole scene wouldn't have come together. But we did get it, So we pulled it off. It just is. It's not Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, that's part of filmmaking, right? It always is. You hit a wall and you pivot. You have to. You can't. Say, "Well, I didn't get the oneer. Movie's over."
Yeah,
you have to get coverage.
Yeah.
It's like, and let me tell you, just for the record, how many times I've tried to shoot a oneer and how many times it's ended up in the movie.
Yeah,
one time. One time has it actually worked. Every other time, I swear to God, it's like a joke now because I love the classic oneer. I love choreographing it. I love and you put so much time into it, and it's just then you watch the first take and you're like, yeah, it drags. It's slow dragging. Because it's taking a long time for that person to get to here, and then they said, "Let's just use the coverage."
Yeah,
it's true though.
It's upsetting, and it's.
I will say the one time I did use the oneer, we were in the feedback screenings, and somebody said, "Do you have any coverage of this scene?"
Yeah, and you're like, "Fuck you! You have no idea." We shot a short film that we're almost done with. It's called Safe, and we intentionally shot it all in one shot. It's an 8-minute thing, and the camera is snore cams to the actor, so all you're seeing is the actor's face the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I still at least feel like it would be nice to have a shot of what he's talking about, or there's one spot in the movie that in the short film that doesn't quite click. Or we think it doesn't. At least I think maybe it doesn't quite click because you don't see it. You only hear it and see the actor's reaction to it.
Yeah.
But I was stubborn.
I think it's okay.
I think it's working.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Really cool and a difficult accomplishment.
Accomplishment.
A lot of what cred goes to that actor who's on camera for 8 minutes, right? That's really neat. That's a cool challenge. I love that.
I always gaffer tape a camera to him with the back brace.
Right, yeah.
Some PVC.
So, I always tell him his demo reel has I'm a teacher. I teach television production, so he's one of my former students who was gonna move to LA the day he graduated high school, and I convinced him to stay around and learn some skills first. But he's been in a few of our things now, and his demo reel is full of stuff that I kind of made him do after he stuck around. So
right.
Put special things to Beckmeyer in your demo reel. It's half your shit is you strapped to a snore cam, running around, jumping. Anyway,
that's one of my favorite things. Is I've gotten the opportunity with a couple of these recent movies of putting young actors in roles that they've never, very legit roles, and I'm like, you owe your career to me. Just remember, in the future, everything you do from now on is because I gave you.
When the student outgrows the master, just take that. Just remember me. Yeah.
One of you will become a movie star and then hire me. That's it.
Right. That's all I want.
And you're welcome.
So, all right. So what are you thinking when you finish you're working on something now? You're wrapping up something now that you like?
I'm delivering that Christmas movie, which
Okay.
is, the silliness of it all. Of like,
Yeah.
here's a hard. Yesterday, to give you this is an independent film. Here's a perfect example of independent film. Yesterday, I drove 45 minutes to a post house to pick up a drive, to drive back 45 minutes to deliver to another post house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm the director of this movie. Surely that's not in my wheelhouse of responsibility.
It's not nearly as glamorous as people think it is.
Really
it's
not.
really not. My sister came on our set one day, and we were sitting there, and it was taking us like 45 fucking minutes to get this one shot set up and everything. And she's like, "This is boring." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. You have to really want to be here, otherwise it's boring as hell." She's like, "I think I'm gonna leave." I said, "Okay, okay, yeah. I'd rather you think that we're doing cool shit over here instead of the most boring stuff you've ever seen, behind the scenes stuff."
No, that's the best position to be in, to be the person who's like, yeah, I'm going to take off.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, we're gonna stay here in purgatory until 4 o'clock in the morning.
And then Brad says, Brad says, "Oh, I need a break," and you're like,
"Enjoy your life."
Let's spend all day setting this up, and now you want a break?
So, how do you decide? Like, how do you decide what to? Will you talk us through the process a little bit of distributing your own thing? Like, after you have your film completed?
Yeah, you go to a website
and you're
or something,
putting your say we're ready to comes out. We want it to come out on December 1st.
Well, okay, so like the In Between is this film that we just put out, and it's a very specific movie. It's obviously a different game plan than Getaway or Cut to the Chase,
Yeah.
And it deals a lot with hidden illnesses, chronic pain and diabetes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So what we did first was we came up with this plan to do screenings for organizations that have a specific interest in that. I feel like if you have that niche market, that people are like, this is interesting specifically to me, or organizations that will help you get the word out. So we had set up all of these screenings across the country when COVID hit. So we had to pivot that and turn it into online virtual screenings, which were very effective, but not as satisfying as you can imagine as being in a theater and, having people do the live Q&As. But we did several of those. We did probably 15 of those, and we were waiting for our actual release date until we felt like we had hit all of these people and built, hopefully a fan base for the film before we came out on DVD. And
how are you doing your live screenings online?
We were setting them up. We would set up live Q&As that would follow like a window of a Vimeo rental. So people could go and rent it on Vimeo for this week and this week only, and then we did a live Q&A on.
That's
Vimeo.
cool. That's cool. So it's like you sold tickets to the premiere,
right?
Sort of,
exactly.
But it was an on-demand premiere. That's
on-demand premiere, and it, and it was specific because there were these different groups where you wanted the head of that group to be kind of introducing and doing the Q&A. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of, not just to me, but for the filmmakers. It's like, all right, Wednesday we have another Q&A. Next Wednesday we have another Q&A. But the filmmakers just really support the movie, as of course they do.
Yeah.
The stuff that I was always felt like my hands were tied. I'm like, let me help. All of my actors want to do press. They want to do whatever, like help me help you. And they'd be like, yeah, we'll call you. So this one being able to bring on my publicist. And
how do you find those collaborators? Because I feel like half the time it's me and like 90% of the time it's me and Brad struggling to get anybody to, like, we couldn't, like, our actors, not our actors. So, not just the actors, but sometimes it feels like you're doing a crowdfund, or you're trying to raise money, or you're trying to sell tickets to a premiere. This is something you worked on. You're supposed to. I think you enjoyed yourself, except for the 1.5 days where Beckemeyer lost his shit on set or whatever, Yeah. And the irony of that is I'm like the nicest person on the fucking planet. I'm like too nice. So when I lose my shit, I feel like I've been really mean. But anyway, it's like we had a hard time. We have always had a hard time getting the collaborators of the project to participate beyond when they were on set. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
What are you doing? You're not you're not really you're not paying the actors to do PR for the thing. Like
No,
it
I
seems
never
like
have.
it seems like if you worked on something, you want people to see it. That's what I was baffled by when we had a hard time selling tickets to our own premiere. Not a hard time. We sold a bunch of tickets, but it was just me and Brad like making phone calls and emails and, hey, you're going to be there that day? That's $10. Come on down. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it is a thing, and and there are, there people do pay. Hi, cats. People do pay, to have their, actors do press. I haven't. I've never done that, but I think I think the answer to this moves around a lot, but I do think that, like, especially in Hollywood, there's this feeling of, I want to support it as long as someone has said it's good already, so that it's not me taking a risk, right? Like, if Variety says, "Oh, this movie's coming out," then they're much more willing to support it than if it's just like,
That's
"All
a
right,
good
we're doing this
point.
screening in Hollywood." They don't want to be the tastemaker. They want someone to already have said it's like, I always talk about, being Fonzie. They want to hang out with Fonzie, but you can't just tell them you're Fonzie. They have to hear it from somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point.
That's probably the answer.
Because so many times
you are correct, sir.
So many times you you don't know if something's good or not, and as creative people, you like you said at the very beginning, you're sort of like, actors don't really like looking at themselves, so they, as far as they're concerned, it's just shit. Like, and somebody else says it's it's good.
I think it's usually the belief system is, if I'm in it, it's shit until I'm proven that it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's usually more than just having seen it and being like, hey, this is pretty good. It has to be like, again, somebody has to tell them, man, you're great in this movie.
Yeah.
I wish more people would see it.
Yeah, you're not going to get the actors to drink the Kool-Aid of how great the writer, director, producer, filmmaker is. Like, unless they're already Martin Scorsese or Tarantino or somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
So maybe private
No.
screenings to get get them more confident in it, and then I don't know.
Okay, so you have your you did your screenings, your Q&As, and that, so you started making money on your film, at least with these screenings.
We started making money back right off the top.
Yeah.
And this is also a indie movie, so it's not, we don't have to make $6 million to pay back. But there's also money out, so you're paying for a publicist, you're paying for this press and stuff. But we started making money like right off the bat. And then we set up a digital release day, with the middle aggregator who's like, orchestrating all of this stuff. That happened. And then we have a DVD Blu-ray release. So, we're tiering it. So there's always something to, be hawking. And, again, not like it's all about money, but in this particular case, it's about making money. So
were you, was your publicity budget, PR budget and all that stuff in your actual budget when you started, or did you have to go back and get more money?
No, it wasn't. I underestimated. I underestimated as I always do, and I feel like from now on, with the in between as a base jumping place, I wish that I had a publicist for every release. Whether or not I had a distributor or whether or not it was secret identity or whatever. It's like, if you can control it, that is just a bunch more stuff that you're not mad at your distributor for.
Right.
But
right. Because they might not do it.
Right.
They might
and they
not
usually
do it.
don't. They usually have an in-house PR person, but they're usually tweeting about how cool their distribution company is. That's their job, is selling the distribution company, not selling Guts to the Chase, right?
So many filmmakers, well, I have this running joke that, like, I was talking to somebody about a budget, and I was like, well, maybe $200,000 or $250,000, and they're like, great, can you do it for 50? And I'm like, well, all directors think they can do it for less. It's like of course you're like testing the director's like ego. Of course I can do it for. Oh, you want me to do it for $9,000? I can do that. I can do that. I don't want to do that, but I can do. So when we're like you said, underestimating our budgets or our need for a certain thing, and they don't really plan for, like, notoriously bad about planning for what do we do once the movie's done? How are we going to pay for film festivals or marketing of some kind? And PR, I guess. I have a friend who's got a film out right now, and she made the movie all by herself. Not all by herself, but like with friends. But she financed it internally with her and her production company and like one other person, I think. And her movie was done, and she just actually had to bite the bullet and hire her publicist to take on that project. And it started selling. It started getting, she got an interview in a couple of, industry magazines, Film Threat review, stuff like that. And it instantly started the machine rolling.
Yeah.
And it's very clear to me that we went off and we made a movie for a very low budget. So many of us are really proud of how quickly we made it, how cheaply we made it for. But has anyone seen the fucking thing? No.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And the truth is, it's like, sometimes that here's a misconception, I think, is that some people believe that the publicist is the key to the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Like you get a publicist and boom, you're going to premieres and you're going to get, your movie stars in, Variety and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really work like that. Sometimes it does. Yeah. Sometimes, you couldn't have done it without the publicist. But, sorry, my cat's doing things. But, it doesn't always mean anything's going to come from it. I've had experiences where it's like the publicist was getting paid lots of money and nothing was happening. Like there was no footprint. And I've had times where I didn't have a publicist and we got picked up day one from deadline. And, but it's a better bet if someone's there getting paid for it than if not.
Yeah. And it's expensive.
But man, is it frustrating to drop that money and then nothing happens. It really is one of the most frustrating things in this entertainment experience is dropping PR money, which is at least $3,000 to $5,000 in my experience, and then being like, well, you got the cover of the Oakland Trade magazine. I'm like, what is that? I don't need that. But I'm lucky. I work with a Cinematic Red PR who's fantastic, and I'm very happy with it.
That's cool. So, and then what? So you had your publicist helping you with these, getting the word out and stuff, and then what?
Again, with talking about actors, our lead actress Mindy Bledsoe is also the director, so she's in for any interviews, which is great. It's one of the things I love about acting and directing, which is it's not every movie, but when it's the right movie, it's like I'll be there. Like there's nothing harder than having your main talent not want to show up for a premiere.
Nobody's written and directed something and starred in it and doesn't want to talk about it when they're done.
Right.
Exactly. I won't say nobody, because sometimes that was a bad idea from the start, and it's like I hope nobody ever sees this shit. But
usually they don't know it.
And they don't know it because they have no. They're in a what's it called?
Delusional.
A feedback loop.
Echo chamber.
Echo chamber. That's what I was looking for. Yeah.
But she's always there. She's a great Q&A. And then we have Jennifer Stone, who's busier, and she's like, she doesn't take, and she's got her own publicist, and so we go through there. But Jennifer is a Disney, star, and people love talking to people from their childhood. Just like, I loved your show. So, and she's been so amazing, like bending over backwards to accommodate us, again, without, any kind of glam fee or anything like that, which is the new way to get paid for doing these things is, it costs me a lot to do my makeup and hair, so I'll do it for this, much money, which is a new thing that I'd never heard until
what is it?
A couple movies ago. It's called a glam fee. That's what it's called. But it's
so
like,
you're paying for someone to do their hair and makeup, and that's their payment for the thing, as long as almost like buying someone's materials.
Yeah, it's like I got you this interview for a morning news show in LA, right? That's a great get, by the way.
Yeah.
Like any of the morning news in LA is great. But, there's the whole thing. Well, in fairness, it's way easier for me to get camera ready at 4 a.m. than it is an actress, So usually that's kind of like the idea is I have to hire makeup, I have to hire hair if I'm going to be on TV in the morning, and that's not going to come out of my pocket, blah, blah, blah. But that's kind of that's really what I've heard as the fee to do press. Do you know what I mean? It's hidden a little bit, but it is a thing. But I've never had to do it because all of my actresses have been so great and accommodating.
Yeah, it's really easy for me to get ready at 4 a.m. too. It's just kind of like Yep.
It takes me 2 hours of just sitting there just to get my brain working. Well, not even makeup.
It's not that he's an actress. He's just difficult to be around.
I have done so many morning news shows at like literally 5 a.m. where I'm like, I just stopped drinking. You know, they do that. They do that at film festivals. They'll have the filmmakers go and do early morning things, and I've done a kabillion of them, and I'm always so altered. It's like such a strange. You can't get up at 5 a.m. at a film festival and expect a conversation.
Because you're hopefully out meeting people, not just celebrating the excellence of your own work. You're just trying to get into the next thing. Yeah. That's what's so cool about them when they click. So so then what? You got your glam fee covered, and
so we do the press. You know, we have this great deal with our PR company where it goes for 3 months. You know, we have a 3-month window where they do press, and everything that they get is a new introduction. We just did a Film Threat watch party, which was neat. I'd never done a watch party before, but it was great. Film Threat has a huge following.
He does it all the time. He's always doing.
So it's like live. Everybody's watching together at the same time from the same
exactly,
file.
And it pushes rentals. So you get them to go and find it on any of their streaming devices or put in their Blu-ray, and we all start the movie at the same time.
Okay. So it's
but
like
in a sense,
lo-fi.
it's just it's just
lo-fi
another
hi-fi.
And you can get commentary if you want, because they're talking about the movie and making it, so you can kind of get the commentary at the same time.
It's fun. I'd never done one before, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's cool. So what did you have to? Did they just invite you on for that, or did you have to?
Well, I believe it took cajoling. Nothing really works out that easily. But our PR person went back and forth several times, and finally they were like, "We love the movie, so let's do it." And we're like, "Great," But I think you can also pay for those. We didn't, but you can.
Yeah. So the Film Threat guys were there.
Yeah, and it was just one guy. It was our host was a gentleman named Lauren, who was one of the Film Threat guys, and he had watched the movie, and he had all the he was deeply researched. Like that, one of the things I really love is when people are like, "No, when you were in high school in 1994 and you did this play," and he was really into it, and it was like we got a kick out of it. I'm like, how do you know that?
As opposed to us, who literally just flipped a camera on and like.
He was like, "What's your name again?"
No, I knew your name, and I'd watched your movie, and I was happy every time we have a filmmaker on, and they're like, "Well, can I see your film first?" I'm like, "Oh God, please be good." I'm so proud of Cut to the Chase. I'm so happy that you got to check it. I mean, that's my kind of movie. It's like I love fight scenes. Our whole thing when creating Cut to the Chase was like, I want this to be a popcorn action thriller, right? Mm-hmm. Where on every page there's either a fight scene, a gun shootout, a chase scene, or a sex scene. Every 2 pages of the script, and it moves really quickly. And there's Frank. And I just think it turned out exactly how I wanted it to. Yeah, which is rare. I loved the way the story. If anyone's listening and wants to see this, you can catch it on Amazon Prime at least. Where else can people see it?
Amazon Prime, iTunes, most of the streaming platforms.
Yeah. The way your story unfolds, I love the what's it called? Like out of order storytelling, where you have suddenly there's a flashback that reveals at exactly the right time.
Instead of cramming it all in at the beginning,
or even poorly timed flashbacks. Your flashbacks, and it just worked really good, and it worked in a way like it's obvious from watching that and talking to you. It's obvious that you'd done it several times before, and I have an obvious command of storytelling. It was your script too, right? You wrote it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So
I just want to say real quick, I loved the beginning was great. The way, because usually that's when you have to kind of pitch your movie to the viewer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the stakes and just the way it started out was like, okay, I'll watch the next few minutes.
Yeah. It's one of the I flipped it on and said to myself, I don't know how much time I have to sit here and watch a whole movie right now, but I'm going to flip this on and see how it starts.
Especially when you're watching indie movies and, it's like hit or miss.
Yeah.
So, it was really good.
So I flipped it on and was like, shit, you know, it's good. I have to stop watching this now because I had to go. I only had like 20 minutes, but it really does suck you in really well. This is the part where we blow smoke up your ass.
I'll take it.
I know. It's nice every now and then, but no, it's solid, and I was really excited to talk to you. So if you were talking to, I don't know, somebody like us or a filmmaker who has a film and they want to get distributed, but they're trying not to get fucked over by some rando distribution company that's gonna like succubus and like suck their movie in, and you'll never hear from it or see it again. What do you tell people? Like, what's your bit of advice?
Well, right now, my bit of advice is, I'd love to see your movie. Like we're looking for things to pick up, but we want to be passionate.
Yeah, distribution company. We're talking. We're talking to the guy with the company. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we want to be passionate, because it is something that we put a lot of work and effort into, But other than that, I feel like it's such the wild, wild west, and like there's so many. Everybody's path is different. You know what I mean? Like one film I sold at a film festival, and that was great and a great experience. And another one played all these film festivals, and I couldn't get a deal for it. And kept going out and looking and looking and looking. But like every film has a home, and I feel like the key is not to just take what they're doing if it doesn't feel right. Like you have to be the squeaky wheel, especially with companies that have hundreds of titles that they're putting out. Like I'd rather them be annoyed by my call than not know who I am.
Right. So do you have representation checking, like, I don't know, like an entertainment lawyer checking out the contract you work with the people, or are you familiar enough at this point where you can read it and go, okay, you're trying to screw me here, but we
do have lawyers that look at things, obviously, but also I feel like I've done it so many times that I know what I want and what I want to be protected of, and I know what they're going to want to protect it of. And I'm like, also every time you look at a contract, absolutely have someone who's done it before look at it, because every time the percentages are going to be off by about 5 to 10% of like, this is more than most people pay, or this cap on marketing costs is a big trap where they'll be like, okay, we'll give you this great rate of, 15% or whatever. We'll take 15%, which is really small for a distribution company, but they'll have a $75,000 marketing fee. So it's like they have to make they can say we spent $75,000 in marketing because we went to Cannes and had a party on a yacht, didn't sell your movie, but man, did we have a great time. But like you can get those down too. But it took me a while to learn that as well.
Okay, so that's your advice. Well, I think I interrupted your advice. What do you tell people to?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Just ask the questions, talk to other filmmakers. Other filmmakers will shoot you straight. I will say almost no one likes their distributor historically. So you can't just because somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to sign."
I feel so much better after talking to you. Nobody likes a distributor.
You end up not liking yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you get mad at yourself.
So far, everybody still likes me, but it is something where it's like when you say, "Hey, what do you think about this company?" and the person says, "Oh, they're awful." Ask why they're awful. Are they awful because they don't return your phone calls, or are they awful because they don't pay you? Oh no, they pay me. Because a lot of people, I mean, this sounds like I'm tooting my own horn here, but most filmmakers have not made as many movies as I have. They've made one movie and they're disappointed that they didn't get on the cover of Variety, so their distributor sucks. I'm like, well, that's not real. Do they pay you? Is it on the platforms that they said it would be? Yeah. And you're getting money? I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. So do you, because it's all about it's about the money, right? It's like did your ego get stroked? You must be doing pretty good because you've made eight films. You got a bunch of feature films, and you've gone through independent financing every time, or at least it seemed like. So you must be doing something right, because otherwise investors wouldn't keep giving you money for movies. Well, like at some point, the well runs dry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I do when I raise money for movies is mostly I'm selling the experience, and over the past, we're going to do cool stuff, and it's going to be a cool movie, and we're going to travel the world promoting it.
All the way to
we try not to
Louisiana.
Yeah, we try not to take. I try not to get people to give me money if they can't afford it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the last couple of movies we've raised with small investments of like, here's 5, here's 10,
Yeah.
and we just build, this thing.
Yeah.
And because I like that, I don't like the idea. Like, this is not a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
It's like, has it happened? I've read stories that it has, but I've never seen, someone make a movie and then be like, whoa, I'm hit it rich. Nah, you make a movie because you want to make a movie and have that experience. And so that's what we try to sell. And we try to, sell it to people who have that disposable income. It's like, instead of, another yacht, how about you make a movie? It will last just as long.
And even longer, maybe, because it's the long
Hopefully,
tail.
I mean, that's why I formed a distribution company, to make sure that movies don't disappear.
How long, in your experience, how long does it take? We could have you on and talk about film financing. There's so many things to talk to you about because you've done the whole gambit.
We'll have to have them on again.
But in your experience, how long is it taking you to raise money for a film? Like 3, 6 months, a year? Like, what is it?
Well, so I did a movie called Weather Girl back in the day, and that we basically set a day that was 6 months from when we started. And we started without having all the money, but we had Mark Harmon. And so I was very confident that with Mark Harmon on the screen, I'd be able to raise the rest of the money. That was very stressful. I don't recommend doing that, but it worked for us. But then it took me 2 years to raise the money for 6 Month Rule, which Weather Girl sold to Lifetime and was, financially, successful.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, okay, great. I want to do this movie. Only instead of Mark Harmon, it stars me.
Right.
So, it was a bit of a different sell, but it took about 2 years to do that. And then since then, I lowered my budgets to accommodate for what's out there.
I thought you were going to say you lowered your expectations. Because
it's
all about the disappointment.
Are still sky high, and I'm disappointed every time.
My question is now, would you encourage independent filmmakers, do the distribution yourself, or are you going to pitch your distribution company and say, come to me? Which is it?
Yeah, I would say don't do it yourself. Don't do it yourself. Like,
don't do it yourself.
If you just like you were saying earlier about you had to learn how to edit and how to run sound in order to be a competent, director, and it's kind of like, if you've put out 5 films and been disappointed in each of the, different aspects of distribution companies, then you are totally prepared to distribute a movie by yourself.
Yeah.
If this is your first movie and you're just mad that nobody is responding to it, it's the wrong call, because the only people who are going to rent it are people that are your Facebook friends. And so it's normally a non-starter. But there are people out there who are great at it, who are, I'm trying to think of a filmmaker that I know who is very meticulous and keeps the charts and everything, and he, has done it himself and been very successful. But when you're doing it yourself, it really comes along with, I've got 20 DVDs in my car. Would you like to buy one? Which most filmmakers don't really want to do. That's not. It doesn't project that Steven Spielberg thing that we're all going for. And I don't consider what I'm doing to be self-distribution. It's like we've started our own entity, with, a team of people who know how to do it. Basically just to protect the movies, but it's just full of traps, and the traps are that the movie disappears, and that should be the biggest fear of your life, is that no one is going to see this thing that I raised all this money to make, and I spent all this time and effort and blood and tears, and then the only people who are going to know about it are my friends from high school. That would suck. So and that's normally what happens when people self-distribute.
Okay, all right, well that's solid advice.
You're hired.
So now we're giving you the opportunity to distribute our next film. You're hired.
You have won the next film.
Where do people find you if they want to get in contact with you or your distribution company? Or
secretidentitypictures.com is the distribution website. I am on social media, Blayne with a Y, Weaver all over the place.
Yeah.
Instagram is if you wanted to hear me being mad at the world and the state of the country, then go to Twitter. If you don't, ignore that and then just go straight to Instagram. Getaway is right now on Amazon. Cut to the Chase is on Amazon Prime, and the In Between is on all of these things. And if you go on any of these platforms and look up my name, you can find all the movies that I'm connected with.
Great. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, that's it for this time. If you want to get in contact with us, we're probably less interesting to talk to than
hardly.
But like, what are we gonna do? We're not gonna distribute your movie. We can't get our fucking film made. But I'm Becca Meyer on all the Instagram. He's Balding Ewok.
Balding Ewok. If you want to, I'll get the thing up. Go ahead.
If you want to send us an email, we're filmreverypodcast@gmail.com. That's it for this time. Thank you very much for coming on. We learned a lot from you. It was great talking to you. We love your movie, and good luck with everything else in the future.
Guys, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the talk.
Problem. Thank you. That's it for this time. And
the end.
Cut. Film Reverie Podcast is a production of Super Mega Ultra Entertainment and is produced by Michael Beckemeyer and Bradley Kingston. If you're enjoying this podcast, please be sure to leave us a 5-star review in iTunes, and be sure to click like or subscribe wherever you find us. That's it for this time. We'll see you again next week with another episode of Film Reverie.
The end.
Great.
All right. That was great. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you. That was really fun.
All right, cool. Well, we're about 7 weeks ahead of ourselves, so we've got a bunch of episodes that come out before yours, but I'll let you know when it comes out.
Yeah, just give me a heads up. I'd love to help promote it.
Have you hit your PR lady up and when the episode comes out and see if you can squeeze it in on the. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. No.
Good luck. I'm gonna go watch your horror movie. It's called Getaway.
Yeah, do it. There's 2 Getaways on Amazon, so just make sure it's the one that's tied to me.
Okay, yeah. The other one's probably not very good.
No, I hear it's awful. Actually, I haven't watched it because I was terrified. So what we did was we were going to distribute it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not what happened. Okay, so we were in negotiations with Gravitas, and Gravitas wanted us to get insurance, which was like 12. It was a lot, and we were like, can't you pay for that? And so we went back and forth, and they said, tell you what, just put a pin in it, and you can pay for it later. So we did a theatrical in drive-ins with Getaway, which was really cool. I'd never been to a drive-in, and we had drive-ins all over the Northeast, right? And then we're almost done with our theatrical, and we're like, all right, it's time to get E&O insurance. So we go to get E&O insurance, and they're like, well, we're not going to approve your title because there's another Getaway. And we're like, what? So, but we've already branded You know, we've already at the time for our name change is past, right?
We did what you asked us to do.
Right. And so not only is there a movie called Getaway, but the lead actress's character name was Maddie, just like in our movie. And I'm like, well, that's scary. So I've never seen it, but I hear it's terrible. So watch ours.
Plus, how'd you get past the name thing?
We just we don't have that coverage in the insurance. So the idea is, if the other filmmakers want to say that we're trying to steal their getaway money, they could sue us conceivably. But we don't think that's a real I don't think that's a real rational thing that somebody would do. Yeah. It's it's usually because I'm like, I love Coca-Cola. I drink Coca-Cola all the time, and sometimes it makes me crazy. Yeah, like that. Yeah. That's liability. But like
we live in a world where anything's possible.
Yeah,
it's true.
Trump.
But I like to. I hold on to my ignorance as my excuse.
Yeah. Bliss, blissfully ignorance. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Have a good Saturday. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Enjoy your holidays, guys.
Yeah, you too. Tell your cats we said hi.
I will. All right.
See you. Bye.
Bye.